Thank you for staying with Perspectives. Welcome back. I'm Shelton Daniel from the Government Information Service along with Jamal Francis. And today we are speaking about major road rehabilitation works planned here for Antigua and Barbuda.
Right, we are now joined by Dennis Kojo, project coordinator, and Francis Clarke, the engineer for this project. So we say welcome, gentlemen, and hope that you have a very good time and discussing many of the issues here on Perspectives.
Thank you.
So let us start with the basics. What goes into a road that could stand the test of times? Because in Antigua and Barbuda, well, more so here in Antigua, sometimes roads are being built, well, they're built, and then rain comes and the faults start to show, and then it goes downhill from there. So what are you going to do differently than what currently pertains?
Francis?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for me and Joe. Our initial assessment suggested that you have several problems with the road conditions. Initially, we looked at the current geometry of the roadway, and with respect to what Shelton is query with respect to the design, we've noticed that the road's geometry on the airport road does not lend itself to hugging the cars, for the cars hugging themselves onto the roadway. And so our new geometry would be with a super elevation, which will allow the car to drive at the design speed or at the 85th percentile, so cars will not veer off the roadway. Other conditions that we looked at was that there was a drainage problem. We noticed that there are insufficient crown, and as such, there are some ponding in the roadway. And if you don't have a proper runoff, then the ponding, with the water settle in the roadway, would penetrate into the subbase and further undermine the subbase, and there you would have failure.
Maybe you can tell us about the types of materials that are used to construct roads. There's an ongoing debate about which one is better, whether it is concrete or whether it is asphalt. People talk about concrete roads that were built so long ago and that have lasted until how many decades later. Then we heard that concrete became too expensive, yet we seem to be seeing a resurgence of concrete now.
Yeah. Well, both materials have its benefits, and in this region, to apply concrete, I think it is labor intensive, and so it may be a bit cost prohibitive. Using asphalt concrete, we typically call that a flexible pavement, and if with the climate, materials have a tendency to expand and contract, and as such, asphalt can withstand heat conditions much better than concrete can. As the CLO and the PRO mentioned earlier in their interview, this is also a part of this project's institutional strengthening. What we are doing right now are having regular weekly meetings with the utility companies so that we can coordinate where they would like their future utilities to be installed, what are their future plans, so the roadway cannot be excavated again. Typically, utility companies all over the globe, once they excavate and install their utilities, they usually do not compact it to the required densities, and then you would see failure. This is the beginning of a partnership with the utility companies and the Ministry of Works to prevent this from happening.
Because the utility companies, it's my understanding, they don't have the capacity to do that kind of compacting. A lot of times, roads are built and pedestrians don't seem to be factored into those roads. I mean, wonderful, beautiful looking stretch of road, well paved, neat to drive on, but no sidewalk.
Okay, yeah, we have done an assessment already, an initial study of what is required, and certainly we see that there is a need for pedestrian accommodation, pedestrian traffic, and so we are factoring that into our design. Along with disabled persons, we are also using some design detail from the American Disabilities Association designs to incorporate into the designs. We are constructing sidewalks along most of the lengths of the roadways, and there would also be pedestrian refuge islands, meaning that if a pedestrian is trying to cross a roadway, particularly since it's going to be expanded, he would need to have a refuge if there are heavy volumes of traffic on the roadway.